Woo, the Golden Stallion here with you for a little, even for Patreon, this is kind of a bonus episode. I've done these reviews before, this kind of review on Patreon, or this kind of storytelling to you. I'm not telling you like a fictional story. This is very real. I've done this before for Patreon, and actually got great response from it, where I have reviewed, I've gone to various, Stephanie and I, we've gone to various spas and retreats and things like this over the years. And sometimes I'll do a review of a conference or whatever. People enjoy it. So I've got one for you. Stephanie and I just recently went to a place called Canyon Ranch, and you may hear us talk about it on an upcoming episode of Sovereign Tech Prime. And Canyon Ranch is, to call it a spa, to call it a retreat, like, those words really don't do it justice. Let's just put it that way. But this is in the Berkshires. In fact, it's just down the street from the other place that we have gone to often, which is actually a yoga retreat called Kripalu, which I have spoken very favorably of. And I come away from Canyon Ranch with some similar perspectives that I walked away from Kripalu with. Now, at Kripalu, to talk about that quickly, again, this is a yoga retreat. You go there for a few days, you do some yoga, blah, blah, blah. There's classes and everything, almost, I don't want to call it seminars, but lectures, that you can listen to and learn about things. And they talk about diet and health and all this different stuff. Kripalu, to put it succinctly, okay, without describing Kripalu again, because again, this one's about Canyon Ranch, okay? And this isn't going to be terribly long. But Kripalu, what I saw there was, how I described it was, I felt like I was seeing a vision of the future, of how the future could be for humanity. Granted, there is for lack of a better term, I mean this in no spiritual sense, because I actually hate the word spirituality. I don't like to use it. I'm an atheist. I don't like it when atheists use it. I think it's a scary word. Because it leads to all kinds of problems. But I will say that there is a vibe, an energy, if you can take those as metaphors, not as a literal energy. Like there's not this vibe, and vibe references vibrational forces of the universe, and we're all quantum entanglement, blah, blah, blah. No. Okay, I'm just saying that there is a feeling, all right, a general feeling, a vibe, an energy that is, for lack of a better term, also very feminine at Kripalu that I enjoy. And of course, part of that is for very obvious reasons, because 99% of the attendees at Kripalu, at the people that go to Kripalu, are women, of all different ages, younger, young, old, middle-aged, old, whatever. There's just all different types, but it's 99%, it's women there. And that creates a certain feeling. But then there's also sort of, there's the concentration on health. There's the fact that there's like this cafeteria that you go to and you can pretty much eat as much as you want, but the food is very specific and specifically designed and everything. It's very good too. There's a lot there that felt like this is really what the future could be. Now, I'm not saying it's the capitalist dream of a future, but I'm saying it's a snapshot, I think, of what humanity could really be, if it went hard enough, if it tried for that on a broader scale, or maybe not so much a broader scale. It would have to be like in pockets, because again, we run into Dunbar's number, don't we? So anyway, Canyon Ranch. So I want to just tell you, that's kind of a minor review of what I walk away when I go to Kripalu. Canyon Ranch, a little different, but kind of some similar aspects to it. So Canyon Ranch is this, ironically, just like Kripalu, apparently it is a monastery that has just been reconverted. It's like this mansion of a monastery that has been converted into, this full-on experience. Now, same deal. There's like a restaurant where, they serve very healthy foods. You can eat as much as you want. The price of admission gets you all the food you can eat. And the food is pretty much available 24/7. They have like a cafe as well. They don't just have one. They do have one restaurant, but then they also have a cafe on site. Everything is on site. And pretty much when you go to this place, when you go to Canyon Ranch, the idea is that as soon as you pull your car up, you no longer have to worry about a thing. Like, that's kind of the concept behind this place. Okay. And it's not an inexpensive place to attend. We went for, I guess, maybe 2 nights and 3 days. That was our stay there. So, you pull up in the car, and then they just they take all your bags. You have all these, workers come out, they take your bags, they take them up to your room and everything. You don't have to lift a finger. They give you everything. They give you a t-shirt. Not that they provide your clothing necessarily. They do provide robes and all that. But you do bring your own clothes and all of this. But otherwise, they try to make sure you never have to leave this place if you don't want to. Everything is being provided for you. Every care is being, put on. The rooms are very nice. You have hotel rooms. As to where Kripalu, things are very Spartan, which I like that, actually. These rooms are very, modern and full amenitied and so on. And there's kind of coffee and tea machines everywhere. And that's the interesting thing is there's a little less concentration on health at Canyon Ranch as compared to Kripalu, where Kripalu had a very specific health goal in mind. Canyon Ranch doesn't so much have that health goal in mind. So at Canyon Ranch, while you're there, you're going to do, you go to lectures. Stephanie and I went to a great one about sleep that I'm still kind of mulling over. And you go to, there's yoga courses, there's general fitness courses. They have an indoor pool, an outdoor pool, hot tubs everywhere. They have a men's locker room, a women's locker room. In those locker rooms, there's 2 hot tubs per gender, pretty much. You get massages there. In fact, I got a couple of massages there, and I hadn't gotten a massage in years. And I've actually kind of become convinced, the one masseuse that I had, she was doing a deep tissue massage on me on, I guess it was maybe a Monday night. And she said, she's like, look, if you're working out 7 days a week, which I do, I'm lifting weights 7 days a week. By the way, Canyon Ranch has an awesome gym, just a great gym. And I spent plenty of time in there taking advantage of that. She said, really you need to get all the lactic acid and everything that's building up out of your muscles and whatever. And you need to get massages more often. And I don't think she was saying that to sell it, because most people that come to Canyon Ranch, they don't stay there. It's not, and oftentimes they don't even live there. In fact, most of the people that I was conversing with there, didn't live anywhere near the place in Massachusetts, in the Berkshires there. So, it's not like she's just wanting me to come back there. I can't just go back there every week. You know what I mean? No one could do that. I mean, it's or not no one, but most people could not possibly do that. So she was just saying, look, you need to go home. And when you go home, find a masseuse and get your shit in order. And I'm kind of it was interesting because after I got that deep tissue massage there, I did feel like I experienced some growth with it. And so I'm sort of convinced, just paying attention to my body on that, I'm sort of convinced that, maybe I do need to get massages on a more regular basis. So that's something I'm looking into. But anyway, that's part of it, is that it's a very educational experience. I mean, they're trying to, yes, I'm sure at certain stages they are trying to sell you on things, and maybe they do want you to come back to Canyon Ranch to get more of this stuff. Sure, that's how they make money. But I think they leave you with a lot of information where you are definitely getting your money's worth if you're just going there to learn stuff, to say nothing of the fitness that they offer. I mean, and they have all kinds of shit. They have a rock wall that you can climb. They've got rope work that you can do. I mean, there's just all kinds of crazy shit that you can, almost like a zip line thing. I mean, there's something for everyone at this place. And it's pretty ritzy. Not the ritziest place I've ever seen, but it's pretty ritzy as far as, not everything's gold plated or anything. But it's pretty ritzy for what it is. And again, they just sort of provide everything for you. And that's kind of the main, and you can walk around the grounds and everything. And there's, there's the whole spa area, which offers, there's a tennis court, there's a whole basketball court there. Again, you can go swimming. There's just so much to do. You could stay there a month and you'd probably not repeat what you want to do, even with just physical activities. And again, the gym was also very nice. Like I mentioned, not like it's not as well equipped as a full on gym. That's just a gym, but they've got just about everything you need. I was fairly pleased with what was there, and I got in some great workouts. But the main thing that I want to talk about with Canyon Ranch, again, and the food was good, all that stuff was fine, and it was great. You could go to the cafe just about any time of day, and you could get a smoothie with whey protein in it. It was awesome. And I could tell them double up on the whey protein, and they would. You get cold brew coffee. There's all these things that are, and again, none of it costs anything. You pay the price of admission, you go in there, and everything's handled for you. It's and that's a very important point to hit here. Now, overall, with my experience there, and of course, Stephanie had a great time. But overall, my experience there was interesting to see everybody else and to see a lot of these people. Now, Stephanie and I, and we went with her mother as well, and she had a great time. And she's just dynamite. But most people that go there do not have the mindset that, say, Stephanie and I have. They don't have the critical view of the world that Stephanie and I, come with. And, it's probably not like, it's a pretty good bet Stephanie and I were the only anarchists at this place, right? That's kind of the point that I'm hitting. It is amazing to me that these are people, and some of these people you could kind of tell based on various things, that they're probably fairly wealthy, or that, at the very least, they're doing pretty well for themselves. Maybe they're doing 6-figure salaries or higher fives. And it's amazing how quickly they just see people who obviously just like work all the time. Now, I mean, there's a bunch of reasons you could want to go to Canyon Ranch, right? You could go there for therapy. You could go there because you're dealing with a loss. You could go there, because it just takes away your need to do much of anything, right? You just go there to do the stuff that you want to do. So, there's a lot of different reasons why people go there. I mean, Stephanie and I were going there, to relax. We just needed some relax time, and honestly, we need more. But, we went there, but when you're looking around and you're seeing all these people, like, it's incredible how quickly people that clearly understand how the world works right now economically, that, you got to pay for this. You got to work hard to be able to get this. You got to be able to do that, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, you got to work hard to even be able to pay to go to that place. Okay. But once you're there, it just seems like people are like, oh yeah, like that, the idea that everything is completely taken care of for you, that there is endless food, that, that there's not a care in the world. How quickly humans, this is kind of the main point that I want to get to with Canyon Ranch. Like I said, this is going to be a terribly long episode. But it's amazing to watch, because the same thing happens at Kripalu. How quickly humans fall into and accept not having to worry about anything, and having seemingly, just endless abundance. Now, it's not endless abundance, but it feels like it, right? Because this place is providing all of the food for you. You can ask for as much as you want. I mean, it's funny because, like, the first day you go there, and you're going to the restaurant or even the cafe, and you're like, you get the menu and everything, and it's just like any other menu where it has appetizers and then it has your main entrees and so on. And usually you just order one entree, but then you find out, their portions are kind of smaller. It feels very European in that sense. So, it's smaller only in comparison to other American places. But you find out, oh no, you could order every entree. You could literally order the entire menu and they will bring it out to you. And I mean, we're talking a full-on menu. You could order everything and they'll just bring it out to you. No extra cost. Now, I know that the only way that right now that a place like that can exist is because, it's on the backs of, our mixed economy. I understand that. Okay. I'm not saying that somehow, we can just magically have a post-scarcity, kind of community or something like that. I'm not saying that happens magically. All right. And post-scarcity is a very, very problematic word. All right. I mean, it can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. So I don't even necessarily want to go there, as far as that goes. But my point being is just, it is remarkable to watch people who clearly understand hard work, who clearly understand, what it takes to get where they've wanted to get in life, etc. And just how quickly they return, honestly, to the minds of children. Because children generally don't, or if parents are being stewards and whatever, and generally this is how parents want to be with their kids, they want to provide everything for them so they don't have to worry about stuff, and that way their kids can have fun, or so that they have the best chances at success when they get older, and so on. So that's what I mean by they return to the minds of children, where it's like, oh yeah, no, I'm just being taken care of and everything is fine. It's amazing how quickly they can do that. When, and how quickly some of them could really no longer, because they sort of, just like Kripalu does, they sort of sneer at you having your smartphone around or your computers. Like they don't like it. They have very specific places where you're not allowed to, or there's very specific places where you're allowed to talk on your smartphone and where you're not. they really don't want you carrying that thing around all the time. And it's just amazing how quickly people can fall right into that pattern once they know and they have the confidence that they are just, being taken care of. They're just like, okay. And they don't think anything twice about it. They don't, they have no problem with ordering as much food as they want and being, I don't think they're being gluttons, because part of it is, there's a health aspect to it. So you don't want to eat so much that you can't do your Viper class the next morning. or boga boarding or whatever that you're going to do. But yeah, it kind of shocks me because, when I read and why that comes up for me, okay, to explain why that comes up for me, is you have like the works of Hesiod from ancient Greece, where he talks about the different ages of man, okay, the different ages of humanity, and where there was a golden age at one point, and there's like 3 or 4 or 5 of them that he talks about, and of course the 5th kind of being ancient Greece. But he says like there was this golden age where humanity didn't worry about a thing. There was just plenty. They, and they just accepted it. I mean, he kind of describes, if you were to look at it from a modern eye, you'd think he was sort of describing a communism. Okay. But, a lot of people don't take that as very literal and think, no, humanity could have never experienced that. But what I think is really weird is that humanity seems to be able to jump in very quickly into a golden age where they're not worrying about anything. They don't have to work for it, etc. When it's presented to them. And so a part of me wonders if there isn't some kind of evolutionary, some kind of biological cue within our, the human genome or whatever. I mean, it doesn't have to be biological, but I mean, it's stuck with us that, no, that's kind of how we're used to living. I mean, maybe it's the hunter-gatherer in us, that kind of brings that on somehow, even though you'd think it would be the opposite. But we know now that hunter-gatherers actually had tons of leisure time, way more than we do in the modern world. So it does lend me to think, okay, well, how is humanity, what is the healthy way for humanity to experience its day? And this is a microcosm. This is a very small example, just like Kripalu is as well. But Canyon Ranch kind of brought that up for me. Now, I'm not saying I agree with that. And also, the elephant in the room here is that you have workers that have to provide all of this luxuriousness for you. Okay, and you have an entire, economy, right? Like, you go all the way Leonard Reed I pencil, right? That is propping up a place like this really to exist. But it brings that to mind. Again, it's just amazing to see how quickly people will just instantly fall into that pattern if you let them. Okay, and it's not in an unhealthy way. Where I know a lot of people talk about, and I can kind of concur, that if we had a UBI, right, universal basic income, that everybody would just become lazy. These people aren't being lazy, but they're just sanguine about it, about the fact that they don't have to worry about anything. And it's just interesting that humans are capable of doing that because, throughout history, a lot of our writers, even our poets and historians and so on, always talk about the struggle. When maybe, or hell, even, in fact, this is kind of apropos because I've been writing in the Sovereign Tech newsletter, I've been writing Another Side of Paradise, which is kind of a sequel story, even though it's not with the Enterprise, it's kind of a sequel story to the original series episode of Star Trek, This Side of Paradise. In that, at the end of the episode, Kirk says he has kind of his little Kirk monologue where he's talking about the planet Omicron Ceti 3, where everybody was just loving and blah, blah, blah. And he says, man wasn't meant to dance to the sound of the lute. He was meant to march to the beat of drums. I think Kirk was wrong. Never thought I'd say that. I think Kirk might have been wrong. Maybe man wasn't meant to march to the beat of drums. Maybe he was meant to dance to the sound of the lute. And when I go to these places, that kind of hits home, and you sort of have to go there to get it. Like I remember, because this happens when we experience creations of humanity. For example, I remember the first time that I went to a Buffalo Bills game, football. Whatever the stadium is, or the Coliseum, or it's changed names a few times. Okay, and in Buffalo, New York, I went up there. And I remember walking out and seeing, I'd watched football on TV at various points, but seeing like the actual, the entire stadium and seeing the football field and everything. It's just the scale, the size of it. I mean, it shakes your core. And what it's all about, and the fact that like this is purely for entertainment and everything. I mean, it's just like it's a remarkable experience to see that. Way more than, and I've been a baseball fan, most of my life. But way more than when you see a baseball field. It's nowhere near the same thing. Like a full-on football stadium is just a crazy thing to behold, And I'm not saying I like football. I'm just saying, and I'm not saying I don't. Whatever. You like what you like, okay? I'm just saying that your stadiums are fucking amazing. Just like, and when I went to Rome, in Italy, and I went to the Colosseum, the ancient Colosseum, and you just stand there and you just look down and you just, holy fuck. There are times where you have experiences and where you experience something that man put together, or that humanity put together in that way, and it changes your perceptions of what's possible. And with Canyon Ranch in a way, not so much as Kripalu, but with Canyon Ranch in a way, it brought a lot of that up for me, of what I just described. Of, this is a way that people seem to just very naturally flow into. It's incredible. And I don't think it's because it's the nanny state. Give me a fucking break. You know what it's like to have to deal with the state. Okay? You do not go into a Social Security office, placid and sanguine. Not at all. So, go fuck yourself if you think it's because of that, because everybody's a welfare queen or something. That's outrageous. But anyway, now I will say to compare Kripalu and Canyon Ranch, I actually like Kripalu a lot better. And Kripalu, I think, is actually, as far as in the line of thinking that I just described, in ways it's superior in that Kripalu, I think, could exist without all the underpinnings of the rest of the mixed economy that we have that would allow it to exist. Like, because it relies, the foods are more natural. It relies more upon local farmers. There's just like, it's something that I think could exist. If everything collapsed today, I think Kripalu could still exist and go forward as it is. All right. As to where Canyon Ranch would probably fall apart. But regardless, people still react to it in a very similar fashion. So it was just amazing to see that, even especially in a different, because Canyon Ranch has, like I described how Kripalu had a very feminine energy. Canyon Ranch has a bit of a different energy to it. But regardless, it does have a feel, and it's somewhat similar, not exactly, but it's somewhat similar. And I don't know, just to see that, and to experience that. And I don't know if I'm going to go to many more, or I don't know if I'm going to go to other ones. I'll obviously at some point probably go to Kripalu again. Might go back to Canyon Ranch at some point. But I don't know that I'm going to go to a bunch of these different ones, at any point, to see what they're like. But I still feel like I'm getting a very interesting perspective on either what humanity is, was, or can be when I go to some of these things. And admittedly, it's not all like sunshine. It's not all sunshine and roses. Like when I was, at Canyon Ranch, when I was in the men's spa area, I took advantage of, you get to do some nude, you get some nude time in a hot tub. And I did that. And I totally felt like, honestly, like it even looked like Rome, the tilings and everything, speaking of ancient Rome, kind of felt like a gladiator getting his reward in the hot tub and everything. That's kind of a fun feeling. And of course I broke out a book. I have my, my Kindle Oasis, which that's really nice, to kind of luxuriously read a book, because it's waterproof, to read books, while you're in a hot tub. And just enjoying it. It's nice to feel that luxury every once in a while. I think anybody should try these things. Give them a shot and see what they're like. But note that all of them are a little bit different from the other and have different vibes to them, as it were. But pay attention to the people. If you do go to these things, pay attention to everybody else for a little bit and see how they're reacting and interacting with this, mini paradise, mini utopia that these spas really kind of create. It's very interesting, and I think it gives you an interesting outlook and maybe perspectives, again, on what we can be. So now, and please, before somebody says it, like I said, I'm not talking any kind of post-scarcity stuff. I'm not talking any, like, what is it, Jacques Franks or whatever, Venus Project stuff. That's not what I'm saying at all. I am just saying that there is a way that humans seem to be able to very calmly interact with each other when certain needs are met, and that's something to consider. So anyway, that's it for, again, like I said, this is just meant to be a very short little episode to review my time at Canyon Ranch. I think I still, like, I'd rather go to Kripalu more so than Canyon Ranch, even though there's more for guys to do, I guess you could argue, at Canyon Ranch. But yeah, just a very, very different experience. But it also highlighted some of the things that I've felt when I've gone to Kripalu as well. So try these things out if you want, if you get the opportunity. I definitely recommend them. I have no problem recommending them. When I compare them, I mean, you're comparing two really awesome experiences. So it's not really fair to necessarily even compare them. But there you go. Anyway, that's it for this little episode, this little review for Sovereign Tech patrons only. Again, like a very bonus episode, but stuff to consider. It's very interesting. And if you've gone to one, let me know what your experiences were, and maybe you'll look at it. I'd be curious if you saw kind of the same thing as I did. So anyway, that's it for this episode. I will see all of you on the other side.